welcome to Wide Angle Forum Voices. I'm architect Priya Gokhale, and in this series, we shall be meeting some really interesting and, if I may say, extraordinary individuals who have voices that are very important in the multiple realms of design, lifestyle, and construction. And obviously, architecture features as a major pillar in all of these. Today, in the inaugural episode, I'm extremely honored to be seated in the BKPS College of Architecture, Pune, which, apart from being one of the oldest schools of architecture in the country, is and has a very fascinating history. And of course, I feel so privileged and so delighted to be sitting here with the principal of this college, Dr. Abhijit Natu. Natu sir, thank you so much for having me here. It's such a great privilege to be here in the BKPS College of Architecture.
Welcome, Priya. It's an alma mater for both
Absolutely.
of us, and
Yes.
so glad to have you here.
Yes.
And let's go on the journey of your
Absolutely.
forum.
Yes. So, friends, obviously, since both of us are students, ex-students of BKPS College of Architecture, our conversation will be all about really important topics and some topics that reflect the wonderful life that any student has in an institute. So we'll be talking about academics, about architecture, about professionalism, about the challenges that any youngster faces from this important stage from age 18 to 23. We'll also be talking about how this turbulent and unpredictable world has made a difference to architecture education and some more really interesting things. Before we start, it's my honor to introduce Dr. Abhijit Natu, who, by the way, is a very popular person. So let's begin. Dr. Abhijit Natu is a 1992 alumnus of BKPS College of Architecture. Yes, this is his alma mater. He did his master's in landscape design from the School of Planning and Architecture, New Delhi in 1994, and also completed his PhD from the Jawaharlal Nehru Technical University, Hyderabad, with an AICTE scholarship no less. Apart from Abhijit's rich experience of several research projects, a 10-year strong practice as a landscape consultant, many award-winning sessions in this, I would like to say that Abhijit or Dr. Natu has always been very fond of interacting with students, has always been a very important voice in the direction that architecture education must take, especially in a country that is evolving so fast as ours. And I would also like to add that, Natu sir, it is so great that not only are you the principal of this institute, but you are nurturing as many as I think 9 to 10 PhD students have taken your guidance to complete their PhD, and they are now inspiring others in their field. Moving on to his love of academics, I would like to think that right from the time he was a student where he was very helpful to other students. Since the year 1998, he has been a faculty at this college, and with active participation, of course, in conferences, award functions, research topics, architecture meets, Dr. Abhijit Natu is not only prolific in the career and not only an important voice in this profession, but as we'll see in the course of the interview, his opinions and his views have made a lot of positive difference to the way a youngster perceives this field of architecture. If I may add at the end, very important point is that I have some form of justified pride in telling you that we've played badminton together, and nobody more than Abhijit Natu understands the importance of fitness and sports in a youngster's life. So on this note, a warm welcome, sir, to you for our interview, and let's hope we have a wonderful conversation. Thank you so much.
And Priya for coming to college, and also I take pride in becoming the first speaker in your series.
Yes.
I'm honored
Yes.
and humbled because I'm principal of this college, and really humbled because I have learned so much from this college, so much this college has given to me. So I'm really humbled.
Thank you, sir. To begin with, Dr. Natu, could you tell us a little about the hallowed history of BKPS College of Architecture which I believe is an institute which is one of the oldest schools of architecture in the country, has consistently nurtured brilliant minds. And in fact, these architects who have passed out from these corridors and who have seen this college are now inspiring people through their stories and structures. So, could you tell us a little about the history and the aura of this college?
Sure. The Bharatiya Kala Prasarani Sabha was founded in 1952. Then the diploma in architecture was started in 1954, and it got converted to degree program in 1978 under the Pune University. So 54 to 78 there were diploma batches, and 78 onwards they are degree batches. So we are almost more than 70-year-old now, the institute. And it is really humbling for me to be in the chair of the principal, because stalwart teachers and principals were actually were sitting in this chair, and it's really humbling because it's a big responsibility to take this legacy ahead, and me and my faculty are doing our best to keep the standard of the college high.
What was it exactly that drew you from your private practice as a landscape consultant? And the reason I'm asking this question is because there are a lot of people who say a professional always wants to come and teach in a college, but it's difficult to take him from his independent practice, and that is the reason why I'm asking you this. So, what was it that made you go from a private practice to full-time teaching? And the second question is, now as the principal of BKPS College of Architecture, what is the best part of your work that you like?
Interesting question. I graduated from Delhi in '94 until I was doing my own landscape and architecture practice. It happened so in '97 that landscape architect Varsha Gavandi, who was a visiting teacher in this college, and she wanted somebody to assist her in teaching landscape design. And I was in contact with her for some reason or the other, and she asked me, Abhijit, would you be interested joining hands for landscape design studio? I said, okay, I mean, let's try. I was not sure whether I would be able to do it. Then I continued. Then I joined her as an assistant. She was leading. I was just assisting her, and I learned a lot from her. And incidentally, in the process, I realized that yes, I am liking it. Okay. Then Professor Padde was a principal that time. So Padde sir said that you are coming for landscape design. Would you like to take up history of architecture teaching? Now Professor Padde saying that because he was a great teacher of history of architecture. So I was a bit confused. So I said, sir, I am not sure. You'll have to guide me. And that's how I took up one more subject. And then they offered me architectural design also. And then I realized that probably they found that can do some justice to teaching, and that's why they are engaging me in more number of courses. And then after 2 years, there were advertisements, posts were advertised in the college, and then I said that if I'm liking it, might as well take up the chance. Fortunately, I got selected, and then I started my journey as a full-time teacher from 1998. So that's how teaching started. Then, as your second question, that as a principal, what exactly I like to do? Okay, teaching is passion. So, though I am a principal, I have structured my lectures such a manner that I get time free from the administration, and I do. Even today, I take up fundamentals of architecture in first year, research in fourth year, and I also guide the thesis students, and of course, landscape architecture courses I teach. That is my passion. Second passion is guiding research and doing research. So that is something like you also mentioned some time back that somehow practice and teaching, they don't go hand in hand, or it's difficult to consolidate both of them. Well, practice and research, because architectural research is grounded, because learning from research gives you insights into how you should be designing. So I don't see that architectural research is away from practice. It is grounded, and it does give us good insights as architects, because then you take more rational decisions because they are based upon reality. So I think practice as well as research are grounded to reality. So as a teacher, you could be either practicing or doing research, but you stay connected with the practice or the field or the domain truly. So research and teaching both are my passions. I keep doing that. Administration, of course. I mean, being the principal, I have to do that. And there it helps because then I can motivate my teachers for research. I can motivate students to take up research projects, do some different things. Being the principal, I can do experiments, and there is always a risk of some experiments going wrong, but I think they are not fatal, so I am taking those risks.
Obviously, the world is a very, very different place from what it was in the early 90s. And why I'm talking about early 90s is because that is when economic liberalization happened in India. We were not used to a world which welcomed us and which was in competition with us. And that was in many ways a threshold moment for many reasons. First, there were actually very few architects. Second, people needed to be told what it is exactly that an architect does. And most interestingly, BKPS College was the only college till I think the early 90s. So, my question is, how would you, in brief, describe that era and how are we different from that era?
The private colleges started in sometimes in mid 80s, 85, 86 sometime, I believe. Till then, BKPS College was the only architecture college. And as you rightly said that things changed. One important milestone is liberalization. Second milestone is IT revolution. That came much later, but till then we were, in sort of a cradle, and exposure was less. Today everything is at fingertips. You Google something, you find it, and so on. That time exposure was less. If a student was curious enough, inquisitive enough, then he would go to library, he would go to other libraries across the city or maybe other state. I remember for doing thesis in final year, students used to run from this library to other libraries for collecting data, reading books, and so on. And there was a lot of labor involved in that, physical labor also. Doing drawings manually because computer was not known. I remember the computer in BKPS came sometime in late 80s or early 90, I think, and it was kept in the principal's cabin. Everybody was very curious to see, oh, there is a machine there. We didn't have computer at homes. Nobody knew much about computers, and that has changed a lot. Today, everybody has a computer, a smartphone is there, everything is at the fingertips, information overload is there. So, this exposure is tremendous. So, that is something which changed. Even the teaching learning in our period, our times, it was different. And today, teaching learning is much different than what we were taught because exposure was less. Our teachers used to tell us, go and see this in the books, and we used to go to the library and see the books. As I said, that this college has a legacy of a very strong library. I think highest number of books in Pune city our library has. But then today students don't visit libraries as often as maybe our generation used to do. So that is one another important change has come. So labor of doing drawings, labor of visiting the library or going elsewhere. There are now TED Talks, there are YouTube videos, everything is available very easily. So that has changed the way information is given. But of course, the responsibility of the teachers is now not giving information, but to analyze information, not to pick up. That is responsibility
In
of the
fact,
teachers.
my next question is actually related to this that the very concept of architecture education is evolving very fast, and it is such an interesting to observe that there are two schools of thought. One says that it is the sanskar that you get in college that is important, whether you are applying it or not. It's just like our upbringing. So our parents may have taught us something, whether to apply it in our life is up to us. Similarly, to give a precise example, we have studied the books of Mackay with its exquisite detailing, the purest elements involved. So, whether or not you are going to use that as a structure, but it is important to imbibe that in college. So, to cut a long story short, what is your opinion on this vast dialogue happening on how architecture should be taught?
So now, as you said, that there was these books like Mackay or Chudley,
Yes,
so many
Chudley,
different
yes.
books we used to refer. I think first principles have to be taught, like they are the samskar. Whether you are using timber technology today is not important, but how materials are joined, how material is executed. So all different materials, their exposure to the student is important. So first principles is important. How fundamentally materials behave under stresses. So finally, architectural stability is based upon the gravity principle of gravity. Something which defies gravity falls down. So from that point of view, I think these books still have a value today.
Okay.
Even people argue whether Bannister Fletcher has value
Yes.
today. Yes, it is. It's a different structure. It's different theoretical framework which the person around 100 or more years back gave, and it was a fantastic work. Okay. So, but as you said, that how now it has to be taught, or what is the change in teaching methodologies, as you said. I think architecture, it's a good blend of humanities, art and science or technology. And being a very different course in the sense it's not like technology because it has got the subjectivity factor also. And also representation. So architect has to think, design and also represent. So there is a chain of thought and action and bringing it down on the paper. So it may sound a bit old school, but I always insist that the first year student should do everything manually for the first year. He should sketch, he should think and sketch this connection between brain and hand, which comes so naturally to us, has to be explored first because computer is not going to tend to think. Maybe AI after some years, maybe, but it's definitely not going to replace human brain. The diversity, the multiplicity of ideas which a human brain can generate will never be replaced. So I am very optimistic about it. So initially it should be manual, it should be designed. The core ideas have to be imbibed to the students. Later on they can explore. So as I mentioned in my earlier answer also, the teacher today is not an information giver, but he is there to guide the student what to pick up, how to analyze, how to interpret,
Yes.
and how to apply.
Okay.
So okay, yeah.
So, I mean, you used some very interesting words and phrases. You used this word of framework, you used culture, you used all these words which are in itself a different subject. So, which is why I would like to club my next three questions in one thread. My first question was that in a world where obviously this is a cliche and everybody keeps saying the same thing that in our time it was not like this. But the core topic that we have to note is that when more and more information is available literally at your fingertips, firstly, what in your opinion are the knowledge portals which will still require actual student tutor one-to-one? That's my first question. If you can cite a few examples also. The second question was that during the COVID years, thousands of students literally had to learn engineering, maybe medicine or maybe architecture in a very different manner. Some of them were students who had just entered college. Online teaching is now actually huge. And if I were to ask you, can there be a golden means where education of architecture, construction, design can be taught in a very effective manner? How would you describe this? And my third question is what you just mentioned that see, sketching may not be drawing. Somebody, even a management person, can do a sketch, but his sketch will be about strategy, about planning, about business, whereas an architect's sketch could be a bubble diagram. So, my question of all these three things is that what, firstly, are the knowledge portals where will still require a student and a tutor one-to-one physically? Second is, are there any more super effective ways of knowledge that have not been explored and we see in the future? And the third is that what, in your opinion, is actually the core of sketching?
Architecture education has got broadly three streams, as you can say. One is knowledge stream. second is design stream, and third is skills. So design is something where one-to-one dialogue of a teacher and a student needs to be there. Because a student gets a sketch. However online I may be, I will not be able to tell pinpointedly that this is something which is going wrong. During COVID, that was a challenge. When it came to knowledge, like you are teaching them about doors, windows, or you can show PowerPoint presentation, explain technologies, videos are available, YouTube links are available. All that we tried when we were teaching technology or building services or professional practice. Knowledge can be imparted that way. Okay? But when it came to design, it was very difficult. So students used to submit their assignments on Google Classroom. Then if I were to assess them like a mathematics paper, I would do that. But what we used to do is to take out printout of their plans, and on that we used to draw sketches. Sketch with a sketch pen, we used to do corrections, take photos and show them that this is what needs to be done. Now there we also, then after some days when COVID also was continuing for next 2 years, we brought some tools, Wirecom and all, which actually on the screen we could move the mouse and do some corrections. But that too had limitations because everything doesn't fit in the way a teacher wants to explain design. So design teaching we found difficult. Our teachers found difficult. But when it was imparting theory, it was relatively easy. And skills is about communication skills or drawing skills. And that was the period when students started studying on themselves, looking at YouTubes about making a SketchUp model or so many other things. These skills they started learning on their own because this contact was not there. So that was a problem. And I think when it comes to core design, I think the studio and the teacher and the student interaction, I feel it is still important. Because it is not like you stay at home and you listen to a lecture and then you study for the exam and you can give the exam. It cannot happen in case of studio.
Dr. Natu, now that we have looked at basic architectural education, you have told us about the history of this institute, and as we are diving more and more actually into the spirit of architecture and education, there is one question which I have been wanting to ask you for a long time, and it is like this. We know that there is an entrance test for entry into architecture. This entrance test has been there for many decades. Of course, now you have classes where the students know what to expect. Initially, it was just, you go for the entrance test and you give it. Now, despite this entrance test, despite the aptitude test, we still see students, correct me if I'm wrong, we still see students who feel they are in the wrong place. For example, I remember when I was doing architecture, we had a couple of students who were brilliant, they were academically good, but they felt that they somehow were not meant to be architects. That is what they felt. So what is your advice to such students who somehow feel that they can no longer continue because their heart is not in this field and they cannot quit because BArch is a 5-year long and rigorous course? And if I'm wrong, you can correct me that no, this doesn't happen.
I think if you were to see at the percentage wise number is less. There are certainly going to be some people who land up wrong.
And if I may interrupt, this must be happening in all the other
everywhere, all colleges and all faculties also.
Yes.
Because I one of my son's friend, he actually took up medicine, and when he went into the dissection hall, he found it so difficult. He left medicine. So your preparedness is also matters. You may have aptitude.
Yes.
But when it comes to actual, you're diving into the pool, you realize no, I'm not a swimmer. Kind of.
Yeah.
That does happen, but I think the percentage is less. Okay. And aptitude test wise, if you say the aptitude test has also evolved. It certainly has evolved. And earlier, I don't know, at our times maybe the things were different. But now the aptitude test, and very nicely designed by Council of Architecture, that they really test the spatial abilities of students also. it is not only the two-dimensional visualization or two-dimensional composition, it's partial understanding of the student also gets tested, in my opinion. So
Okay.
I think certainly students with that understanding are then qualified
Yes.
through the examination and they reach here.
Right.
Many times parents have a perception that my child, he can really draw nice. He is inclined towards drawing, so he should go to architecture. But many
Okay.
times there it may fail because it is not only about two-dimensional drawing.
Absolutely.
It is three-dimensional visualization, the spatial cognition, which the child. And I think there are aptitude tests not only for architecture, but generally there are aptitude tests well designed, which test the ability of the child. And there itself at 10th standard or 11th standard level,
Yes.
kids are guided
Yes.
about options they can explore other than maybe medicine or engineering.
Right.
So I think this facility was not there earlier.
Okay.
So the chances of a child landing up somewhere wrong
Exactly.
is likely to be there. And another thing happens is that we are talking too much about the urban areas.
Okay.
Rural areas may not have that much amount of facilities or guidance the children may not get. I am not sure whether that has reached very remote areas. And if some children come to architecture for by giving an entrance exam and so on, they realize that I can draw, but architecture is not for me.
Yes.
That can happen. So I think not only urban areas, rural areas also should get those facilities of getting good guidance.
Yes.
Yeah. But in this college, we get students from all over Maharashtra.
Okay.
From remote areas also we get, and they do fantastically well.
Is it difficult for them to integrate in a metropolis like Pune? Or do you help
It is
them to- Okay.
when it comes to adjustments like their staying facilities and
Yes.
all. Initially 1 or 2 months it is difficult, but later on the culture of this college, and I think I'm very proud to say that the group becomes homogeneous in the end.
Wow. Okay.
Because this divide of urban rural
Absolutely.
or haves have nots
Absolutely.
doesn't remain in this college, and teachers also very impartially look at all children, and it so happens that children from these remote areas also sometimes top the board.
Okay.
So I think, but I think rural areas, architecture has the culture, the understanding of architecture has to reach more strongly to rural areas.
Okay.
So even from rural areas, we get good students.
But I mean, whatever you said, even before the interview, we were chatting that when these students come and the homogeneous group is formed and everybody is helping each other, I mean, how wonderful to see their transition in these 5
Yes.
years and what they become must be
Yes.
so satisfying for you
Very
as
nice.
the principal.
Very
isn't
nice.
it? So yes, we'll come back to my next question, which is somewhat, I won't use the word controversial, but it proves that dialogue keeps happening and nothing is permanent. It just proves that. Some years back, the authorities deemed quite correctly in their opinion that it was not necessary to take mathematics to do architecture, and this had various schools of thought because somebody said it is more of emotion and art and this and that. On a very holistic level, what in your opinion, as such an experienced teachers, apart from this topic, are the most important abilities and capacities that a student should have when he or she enters first year? It's just an addition to what we spoke just now.
I may correct you slightly.
Yes.
It was not mathematics,
Okay.
it was about physics.
Okay.
Mathematics has been mandatory.
Okay.
In between for 4 to 5 or 6 years maybe, Council of Architecture allowed entry into architecture students from arts and commerce faculties
Okay.
who were having mathematics.
I see. Okay. Stand correct.
So physics, they said no longer was not needed, but mathematics was needed. So students from arts and commerce background with mathematics came to the architecture curriculum, and I think they did wonderful.
Okay.
Not necessarily that you need to have. I mean, that time at least we realized, and I'm talking this out of experience because the 2020 Pune University gold medalist is from this college. And she was a arts, 12th standard arts with mathematics.
Wow.
So then we
Not many
realized,
people know this as
yeah, and she was the topper.
Okay.
And it was a proud moment for us, but also an eye opener for us also, that an arts graduate also can come with, and with mathematics she is doing so wonderfully well. And currently she is pursuing her masters in landscape from USA.
Wow.
So I think because mathematics is important in the sense because mathematics helps you to take things logically and rationally ahead.
Can you elaborate on that with an example?
There are subjects in architecture which demand certain amount of complication. For example, structures.
Okay. Yeah.
So to understand logic, how a structure behaves, some amount of mathematics is incorporated in that. Physics, yes. Now again they have reverted back to the old system of maths and physics compulsory.
Okay.
Maybe we had a very good student with arts background with mathematics.
Definitely.
Maybe she was an exception.
Yes.
But majority students, I don't know. I mean, very few that time used to come from arts or commerce. But mathematics helps you to understand structures in a better way. And physics, of course, it does help.
Okay. So, Dr. Natu, I'm so happy that not only are we chatting with each other, not only are we talking about things that are happening right in real time, but we are also moving and hopping on your own experiences and your own interactions, which actually is the core of, I think, being a teacher at the fundamentals. This is again a question which I really want to ask you. Now, logic tells us that for example, the more companies offering a particular product in a particular genre, the better and more cost effective that product becomes, because everybody wants to give the customer the best, the most cost efficient, with the best service and all of that. My question is simple. Now that there are more than 25, 26 colleges of architecture in Pune alone, again correct me if I'm wrong, and I'm not even counting the interior design institutes, would you safely say that because there are many colleges, the students are inherently competing with each other in a healthy way, thereby effectively raising the employment opportunity and enhancing their employability? Because everybody has the loyalty also. Everybody wants to be the best. Everybody wants to upgrade themselves at the end of 5 years. So how would you?
Students have their own personalities and strengths.
Yes.
So somebody is more stronger with structural understanding. Somebody is more stronger with design flair. Somebody has good skills and communication skills developed. And I think architecture as profession has diversified.
Wow.
When we graduated, we had limited scope. We complete our education, get our degree, and go to office or start our own.
Yes.
Okay, now it has diversified. There are students doing BRs and who are very good with knowledge of finance or handling projects or anything. They do MBAs, they get placed in multinational companies as finance auditors or something. There are architects who go into project management. There are architects who go into specialized branches like construction management, conservation, landscape architecture, set design. So many students go to set design.
Yes.
So many students go to product design, interface design, interaction design. So I think the domain has diversified. And because the curriculum has also evolved, students are now exposed to variety of things during the curriculum.
Wow.
So maybe in second year, third year, fourth year, whenever a particular elective is offered or some subject is introduced, they realize that this is it, this is me. So they complete their course and then take that ahead further for their further journey.
Okay.
And I think that is the beauty of this course. So they may be competing with each other, but finally it is your own strengths.
Okay.
And to find your own niche, and many times parents at the time of admission season come to us and they keep on asking a very popular question that what is the placement ratio?
Exactly, yeah.
Now architecture per se, this placement thing doesn't work.
Yes. Please,
and if they are comparing this with IT or
Absolutely.
computer engineering or so, it doesn't work for architecture. Okay, because architecture is a profession like chartered accountancy or law or medicine. And you are not selling a product, you are giving advice and service. So to train yourself for doing that, you need to take up internship maybe 1 year or 2 year, and we see that our students after 5 years they develop these entrepreneurship qualities. And these, if the students nurture these entrepreneurship qualities, they will work as good professionals when they go out.
Yes.
And fortunately, in past 2 syllabi which have been revised by the university, we have this specialized subject of entrepreneurship development and also communication skills, which is very important for any professional, not only architecture. So I think we counsel the parents and the children also that don't look at your IT friends or computer science friends. The placement thing doesn't happen here, but it is your own entrepreneurship or entrepreneur mindset which will help you to develop your own practice. That is what is more important.
In fact, what you said just now, sir, is so important because somehow, I don't know, again correct me if I'm wrong, somehow we are so passionate about design and discovering all these wonders that we don't realize that after all, we are doing it to earn money. And I mean, charging a fee to your client or making sure that it happens on time, all these things somehow, I mean, we are not comfortable tackling it head on. So, which is why I'm extremely happy that you made it very clear that this is an important part of being an architect, actually.
Yes.
So, which is where my next question comes integrated into that. That there are a lot of students and professionals, and I have seen them telling me that this elective thing, which is taken, I think in 4th year, if I'm not wrong.
Now it has changed. We have now brought it down to 3rd year.
Okay. So I think there are many electives which are offered. For example, art is there, furniture design, photography, journalism, and they are so interesting that they could actually be mainstream topics.
Yes.
And I have seen students pursuing it with a lot of passion and interest. So do you think somewhere this will be integrated as a mainstream subject in architecture? Do you see this happening?
Yes, because electives is now a credit course. It is not an optional course. So I was fortunate to be the Board of Studies chairman from 2017 to 22.
Okay.
And I headed the board, and that time we increased the basket of electives. Earlier it was 10 electives, we increased it to 30 electives, and we left it to the students. A strange coincidence during the COVID period that university allowed students to take up courses from NPTEL or Swayam.
Okay.
So this, if a student at home does an online course of Swayam, the college would accept that grade and the student would get exposed to the online content.
Okay.
So even if you are not having a teacher, the university allowed students to take up courses from Swayam or NPTEL platform. So these electives have become now mainstream because Council of Architecture very nicely has given a structure of credits, that how many should be the core credits, how many should be the optional credits, how many should be the elective credits.
Okay.
And these elective credits are now much higher than what earlier they used to be.
That's really nice, I think.
Yeah. And therefore students get this flexibility. They choose what they want to study. And of course there are practical limitations how many a college can offer, because again it is bound to finances, that how many courses we can run, minimum number of students and all that. But in our college we try to give maximum, and we also allow students, if they parallel Swayam courses running, they do the Swayam course also.
Okay.
Apart from electives, we also introduced something called as audit courses. These audit courses were not mandatory courses, they were completely optional, and they were over and above the syllabus.
Okay.
Just to give you an example, last year we had an audit course on culinary arts. Now it has nothing to do with architecture.
Yes.
But our college, being the government aided college, we did a MOU with the government catering college, HMCT college at Gokhale Road. And the teachers over there came and conducted culinary art courses for our students. And our students enjoyed.
They must have loved it.
And apart from their routine lectures on diet and balanced diet and food culture across the globe and so on, the takeaway for architecture students was they could actually go and see commercial kitchens in very famous restaurants or 5-star hotels in the city because of the HMCT teachers helped us. So I think this interdisciplinary
Absolutely.
dialogue is so important.
Absolutely.
And that's why I said what we learned in our times, things have evolved a lot.
Absolutely. So I'm so happy that you use this word interdisciplinary, because actually it's such an attractive word, and it embellishes the fact that architecture, I mean, they call it the mother of all arts and all those big things, but on a very ground level, architecture actually encompasses everything, right from the performing arts to the culinary arts to the visual arts to the nitty-gritties of a construction actually taking place. So my next question is, you can quickly answer it before I move on. In your experience as a student, what fundamentally, if I were to ask you for three qualities that an architecture student has different from other STEM areas like an engineering student, a medicine student, a BCom or a chartered accountant, what are the three qualities that distinguish an architecture student from these other areas? They could be quirky also, they could be funny also. I mean.
Should be a good visualizer.
Okay? Yes.
Should visualize. Secondly, think laterally,
Okay? Yeah?
out of the box.
Yes.
So that helps them.
Yes.
And thirdly, express well.
Okay. Okay.
Because expression is something which is very important.
Absolutely.
Whether it is verbal, whether it is graphical, whether it is textual. Because finally you have to communicate architecture.
Yes.
So expression becomes very important.
Lovely. Often, sir, you'll agree that architects, because of their tendency to be creative, and let's accept it, that people who do architecture, who become architects, it is fair to say that they are in a way more creative than other people. And that's why they come into architecture. But they are known to pursue other things like art, photography, acting, music, etc. Would you say that since an architect has to be perceived as creative, above all else, pursuing a creative hobby or activity will actually add to his professional strength, or it doesn't make any difference? What would you say?
It does add.
It does. Okay.
Definitely it does add. And I think you asked three qualities. One important quality I missed out.
Yes.
One is empathy.
Wow.
Because you are touching lives.
Yes. Can you
Touching
elaborate a
lives.
little on this?
Yeah, because many times it so happens that architect designs something without any knowledge, concern or empathy to the end user. Because he or she takes a very strong visual stand. One wants this like this.
Yes.
But is it really comfortable for the user? So I think empathy is something which is very important for an architect, because finally you are working with somebody else's money
Yes.
and you are doing for somebody else.
Yes.
And as you said that architecture encompasses everything, because right from getting up from the bed, working, moving, studying, writing, playing, everywhere you are in a space. You are dealing with a space. And if you are not empathetic to the needs of that person, I think so architecture students also should have that empathy with them. You should not be sitting in ivory towers and taking decisions. And I think there, my personal research interest is behavioral research. In fact, my PhD was also on landscape design and behavior. So when we are doing behavioral research, we realize that what are the needs of elderly, what are the needs of physically challenged people, people who have visual impairments. So this empathy is very important.
This is, friends, I would take a moment here to say that, sir, I'm grateful to you because Dr. Abhijit Natu has been my friend in college, and I feel that this is something which can never be overemphasized. And at the same time, it is something that is so simple at its core, isn't it? To be an empathetic human being is the essence of being a human being.
Yes.
And to say officially that it is one of the primary qualities which an architect must have, I mean, I think that is one of the biggest takeaways from this interview. And as we reach the latter part of this interview, my next few questions are actually along this same line. And there is another thing which I've been wanting to ask you. When you come to the timeline of BArch, let's say, 5 years, which apart from medicine, there is no other graduate degree in India which expects an 18-year-old to give the best years of his life, of his youth, and 5 years he's undergoing a course which literally is rigorous. It takes away your health. You have to really take care of yourself. It tests your capacity to be resilient, to be emotionally and physically strong, to take challenges head on and say, yes, I'll do it, I'll move on every day. And therefore, my question is like this: doctors take 5 years to have a basic understanding of the human body, which itself is the most complicated machine in the universe. Our job is actually as tough because it involves understanding the workings of a wide array of structures, styles, genres, global trends, reading the future, and at the same time bringing our own creativity and, as you said, empathy in that. In the light of all these challenges, for the current 18-year-old, do you think 5 years is a small period, a large period, or an optimum period?
Attempts to rethink about this 5 years thing. There are pressures because engineering is 4 years, and our because architecture is under the engineering faculty at the university level also. Students also feel that if somebody can get away in 4 years and start earning fast, because finally it comes to money. 5 years that way, from the student point of view, parent point of view, they still feel it is very long.
Yes.
But as a teacher, I realized that because this training is as a part of our curriculum, we have a 6-month training. So training is essential because it is a professional course. You should know how office operates. So from that point of view, this 4.5 plus 5, 6 months of training, this 5 years we are looking at. But I think there are efforts being done to explore if it can be just a 4-year course. There are, and then the internship of 1 year. So maybe you get a degree and then you do training for 1 year or something. But for license, maybe they will come out with some exam to qualify for license. I mean, this is all hearsay, but there are. I'm hearing that these kind of things might come.
Okay.
But finally, it needs approval of Council of Architecture.
Yes.
So it will, and I think Council of Architecture will take care of all these pressures. Also, they are also aware of what is current scenario.
Yes.
And I think they will come out with the best.
Nevertheless, I feel as both of us have been students and we have been in that ecosystem, because like medicine, architecture is a curriculum that requires you to be constantly in touch with your students, your teachers. It is a lot of interactive stuff going on for all these 5 years. So the friendships that are forged at the end of these 5 years, can you talk a little about that? And from your own experience and what you've been observing in the college both.
Yeah, I think we spent 5 years together, and they are long-lasting friendships. Well, I do have friends from my college, and we are still in touch.
And in fact, if I were to interrupt, sir, many of them become collaborations also.
Yes.
Many batchmates have become partners doing extremely well.
Yes, that does happen.
Yes.
That does happen. And yes, I think friendships they have, because we are spending best period of life together.
Sir, there is one different type of question which I want to ask you, and you can be absolutely frank while replying. If a student were to choose architecture today, do you think one reason for that is that nowadays it is definitely perceived as a rather lucrative profession, a glamorous profession? Would you say this is an accurate representation, somewhat half of that, or a myth?
The words used are not very appropriate,
Absolutely,
I feel.
absolutely. That's exactly why I want you to correct or set the record straight.
Yeah. If you have the ability to visualize, explore and all, then I think it's a good profession.
Yes.
And if you really work hard and gain experience, you can turn into a very good professional or being good. But it demands a lot of hard work.
In fact, sir, there is a serious reason why I asked this. And the reason we go back to what you said some time back, that unlike an engineer who starts earning at the age of, let's say, 25, 26, an architect may not earn that much, but once he gets into the
Yes.
depth of practice,
Yes.
then I mean the future is
Yes.
there are no limits. Would you agree with this?
Yeah, definitely. And as you said that friendships long and there are collaborations. One important difference between what a practice 40 years back or 30 years back was happening and today's practice, it is not a single architect practice these days.
Absolutely.
There are collaborative
Yes.
practices because I may be strong on landscape design.
Yes.
I have to collaborate with an architect, a conservation architect,
Yes.
MEP consultant, experts, architecture experts from various domains,
Absolutely.
and then you take ahead the project.
Yes.
Because if you're designing a large structure, maybe which is spread over 5-6 acres, I think it is beyond the control of a single
Yes.
architect. It is a collaborative
Yes.
practice, and because this economy is opened up and a lot of MNCs are coming in and large projects are happening, infrastructure projects
Yes.
are happening, there is a lot of opportunity
Yes.
for these students. And one of, as I said, that entrepreneurship development course is now engaged in the curriculum, where one important thing is now told to the students that it is collaborative practice, and the project works from second year, third year when they go for a major drawing or they go a group work. The idea behind this is understanding each other, one, and secondly respecting each other, because in a collaborative world you have to respect opinions. So I think that is one important area which this education now has to address.
In fact, I did not expect us to get into this extremely fascinating field. That let's say a student, I have had friends in my class who were not very good at designing or very good at drafting, but they were brilliant at talking. They were brilliant at presenting. They were very good strategists. They were never late in their submissions. So this is such a positive takeaway that there is some role
Yes.
for everybody in the profession today.
Yes.
Isn't it?
Yes.
Now I would use this for my next question. That interestingly, architecture and interior design are two fields where even at entry point and even in practice, men and women do actually equally well, and both of them are thriving in this. And this has been true since the 90s. Even at that time, it was an equal playing field. So, without having any kind of gender statement in this, from a handful of girl students in the era many decades ago, and I hear from senior architects today that we were just 6 girls in the class or what have you, to the 90s, and now when the ratio is equal, do you think that this is one of the most wonderful observations in this field, that you see an equal ratio and there is actually no distinction at all? Isn't it?
No, and it is wonderful.
Yes.
That earlier, as you said, there were very few girls in architecture course, but now I think girls are doing equally well.
Yes.
Very much.
Right.
And we have such illustrious alumni of this
Absolutely.
college,
Absolutely.
and they are doing wonderful
Yes.
projects, and I think there is no distinction.
Yes. Now my next question, and we are just winding down, just a couple of questions to go. Sir, I think that another interesting commonality which I see, and it's a very good thing, that it's one profession which often runs in the family. For example, like industrial families where you have a culture of industry and the next generation takes it up in a good way, expands, bring fresher thought, and it's all adding to the economy and the marketplace. Like lawyers, doctors, business houses, there are hundreds of families where the son, daughter is an architect, the parents or one parent is an architect, and in some wonderful examples, we know a few
Yeah.
cases, even the grandfather or the grandmother is an architect. And because of the flexibility that this course offers, where every brain is different, how would you give us a few examples of your knowing a dad and mom and their child comes, and maybe you know the dad and mom. So how do the dynamics happen in this case?
Okay. Not many cases I have seen in past 5-6 years, but there are 2-3 students whose parents are architects or interior designers, and their son or daughter are here. And I would say there is one girl whose father is a very good senior architect, and known to us, and he has told me, I am not going to look at the work. Whatever is that, you take care of it. I don't want to interfere in the teacher and student ratio. But there are sometimes occasions with some other student whose father is maybe an interior designer or mother is, and that person doesn't allow the child to think freely. So these extreme things happen. Yeah. So, but I think the stand of the first parent is more logical.
Yes.
Let the child explore on its own.
Right.
Too much of spoon feeding at home is not good.
Yes. There is one question which I want to ask before we actually end it. Today, many students do masters,
Okay.
and the reasons for doing masters are different.
Yeah.
Some are really, they love that topic. Somebody wants to do landscape because they are fascinated about that topic. Some do it as an add-on to their resume. Some do it because they seriously want to enter teaching because they love it. Some do it as an exploration, and some do it because the others are doing it. So can you give some guidelines for a young boy or girl who has done B.Arch and is really wondering whether I should do it, whether I should not do it, what are my reasons for doing it? So just actually a piece of advice for all these youngsters.
Your vision widens
Okay.
after doing masters. Maybe whichever discipline it is. Because some students are inclined, as you said, for landscape. Some students love heritage and history and take up conservation. It is a specialized branch, but your vision widens. You are looking at your own building for 5 years. Now you start looking at that building in a context. Though at undergrad level also we do teach them, because context is something you just can't take away. It is always there. But designing that context also now starts coming in, and your vision widens. Whether it is planning, you then start looking like a bird and look at the city and take stance about how the city should be and so on. So I think your vision widens. But I would not very generically say they should do masters or not, because there are a lot of pressures.
Okay.
Because after 5 years, some children and some families are impatient and they would advise their children to take up jobs, or now these children are pressurized to start earning. So telling them taking up masters becomes difficult. But those who genuinely are interested and they have that 4-5 years at hand where they can do an exploration, then many times our advice is that work for a year in the discipline in which you want to do the masters. Learn about that profession and then take up the masters. That helps because you mature as an architect also in next 1 year. So that also helps. So the advice would be that, because as I said that there are pressures on students. Because after these 5 years their parents also want them to go on.
What is your take on, there are a lot of students who do professional practice while they are studying. Maybe 2 hours, 1 hour, just going out, helping out, observing how an office works. And I remember I had friends who by the time they finished 5 years, we were still starting from scratch, and at least they knew what happens in an office. So what is your advice on this?
Students should go to offices.
Okay.
I make it a point because these days now what happens is after the university exam till the next semester starts, there is generally 1.5 2 months gap.
Okay.
What do they do in these gaps? No, they can't just sit home.
Right.
I mean, they should not sit home.
Yes.
So I'm fortunate that this college has a legacy of alumni. So I just try to find out from the alumni group if any office needs any assistance. So I call them as summer internship or winter internship.
Okay, nice.
Now in this summer internship this year itself, there is one NGO called as Ekansh who work for disabled people. Okay, and universal accessibility. So they wanted the lady Mrs. Iyer. She asked me, because we have collaborated with them earlier also. So she asked me, are there any students who can help me in mapping the streets of Pune? So I said fine. Then I put it up on the WhatsApp group of the college, and I got 9 applications. And all these 9 students for the entire month of June and partially 15 days of July went to streets of Pune and Times of India gave a good coverage. You can see behind me there is a paper cutting.
Okay.
So these 9 students did the accessibility audit of the streets, and it was a paid internship. They got some money,
Absolutely.
and they did this internship. Then there are so many students who are working for one NGO which deals with water harvesting. They are experts in water harvesting, but they want architectural drawings to be made. So around 6 students of the college go there. Then there are alumni whom I asked, can I send my 2 students in this winters? So even if out of total number of students, 20-25% go there, I'm happy because they are going to learn something new. They are going to get to connect to the field,
Absolutely.
profession, and that's a great learning. So I insist that students do take up these summer or winter internships.
Absolutely. Because see, the act of familiarizing yourself with the ecosystem in an office can be quite unnerving if you're not used to it. When you're 23, first time you go, it literally throws you off balance. So I want to take your take on this new education policy, because we on the professional side, we really don't know much about what difference it is making, because sir, already the course is open-minded, already you are doing so much of lateral thinking. So what is it different that this NEP has brought in a course like architecture?
NEP is not yet implemented in architecture.
Okay.
And because we finally are under Council of Architecture, unless Council of Architecture gives us a structure and directions about the course, university will not implement it. So it is not yet finalized. NEP has certain things that they have multiple entries and multiple exits. So, and they say that after 1 year of a course, I am not talking about architecture, generically I am talking, you go away, take a certificate and go out. After 1 year you come back, you can do your diploma, again go out. So they call it at multiple entry, multiple exit. I have not yet completely visualized for architecture because there are certain other issues which are related to architecture, because being a professional course. So it has I think this mainstream courses of art, science, commerce, they have implemented NEP. I think even engineering has implemented NEP, but architecture still has not implemented it.
Friends, I have enjoyed this interview so much that I really wish we could continue for long. Maybe we'll have a part 2, who knows. And Natu sir, I want to thank you for many things. One of those things is that you have spoken so beautifully. You have given us a bird's eye view not only of academics, but of the profession, of our beautiful country, the way we want to go ahead. And by using certain very important words which are not only cliches, they are an entire topic in themselves, you have enriched myself and my knowledge of talking to eminent people like you, and thank you very much for that. So while I have thoroughly enjoyed this inaugural episode of Wide Angle Forum Voices, one of the key takeaways from this interview is, of course, reconnecting with a friend, reconnecting with the ambience of this beautiful and serene college, and knowing a lot about topics which otherwise are not talked about and which have really enriched me as a professional today. Coming to the end of this interview, there are just 2 things in my mind that I just cannot leave without asking Natu sir. One of them is, BKPS College of Architecture has quietly been creating wonderfully talented minds, grooming them for a great career, and naturally when we walk into this college, we are overcome with memories and nostalgia. What is your strongest and most lasting memories of being a student?
Very difficult question.
Yes.
I think I enjoyed my thesis a lot.
Okay.
And I worked on a very different topic because it was Santa Smarak. Santa Smarak was for the Santa Parampara of Maharashtra, and the site was in Alandi. And I used to have such interesting discussions, sometimes debates with Professor Sardesai and my guide, Professor Badwe.
Okay.
He was my guide. Earlier, and I think that was very enriching because the topic at our times we used to decide in 4th year. And Professor Badwe being my guide, he said before even you start your topic, thinking about your topic, just book a ticket and go to Kanyakumari and go and stay in Vivekanandapuram, go on the Rock Memorial, because you are doing a Smarak for the Santa Smarak you are doing. That time I was, why is he telling me all that? Because we have generally those first reactions. But then I went there, I stayed there for 4 days. Then he helped me to connect somebody who knew somebody on the Rock Memorial. So I got a chance to go there and stay 3-4 hours. I was the only one on the Rock Memorial. I'm talking about 1990.
What month was it?
I think it was April. It was just after
Summer.
college ended. And that was the time, because earlier I thought I was doing design. But then, if at all, it was. But after interacting with Professor Sardesai and Professor Badve and having experienced Vivekananda Smarak, Vivekananda Puram, then Badve sir told me to go and go recurrently to Alandi and go to see the Samadhi. Then I started realizing that architecture is not only about building, it is about place making, what the place communicates to you. So that was the time in 5 years I started realizing that how do you manifest philosophy? That was something I always remember, and I cherish this memory, those discussions with Professor Sardesai and Professor Badve.
Do you miss that?
I do. And then it continued somehow when I went to masters, and Professor Shahir, he was also my guide. He was the head of the department, and he used to ask us very subtle and very simple questions about landscape design. That what is meaning of your landscape? And that time we used to wonder what does he mean by what is the meaning of landscape. So I think philosophically, my real journey started with 4th year in architecture. So, philosophy of architecture, I would say. They helped me to understand Professor Badve and Professor Sardesai.
Absolutely. I'm so happy you're saying this, sir, because maybe your sentiment, what you're feeling even when you're talking about it, I'm sure there are hundreds in our audience who are experiencing those feelings as they are listening to us. And I'm sure of this because, that is what architecture is supposed to do to you. Essentially make you a better human being above and over and above other things. So friends, on this note, this has been an exhilarating interview, extremely satisfying to me as a journalist, as a person, as a visitor to this institute. And I think we owe it to the aura of where we are sitting actually in this college. And that is the reason why this interaction has not been just an interaction, but it has been a meeting of minds. And I'm looking at you across a screen, I can literally see and watch the expression in your eyes as you are watching us and listening to us. So I hope you have liked this interview. At the end, last and very important, Natu sir, heartfelt thanks from all of us at Wide Angle Forum and the Wide Angle Forum Voices for meeting us, giving us such generous time in your cabin in the BKPS College of Architecture. And I would like to end this by saying, let us pay homage, let us pay obeisance to all those teachers, because we are just a few weeks from 5th September, which happens to be Teachers' Day, which happens to be a very important day for this college, and it is also the foundation day of Wide Angle Forum. And the essence is, of course, that let us all remain students lifelong. And therefore, I would like to pray to all those teachers who taught us, inspired us, motivated each and every student studying here and elsewhere. And would you like to take a few names of these teachers who are no longer with us? Or we can just leave it in the air, I think.
Yeah.
And remember them every day as we pass this journey and as we live this journey. A few last words from you and then we conclude.
I am also honored by Wide Angle Forum for interviewing me, and I would not call it an interview, but she actually stirred the memories in my mind. It brought back my memories of my thesis, my studenthood in this college, and the journey. I am humbled to be sitting in this chair, lot of responsibility, and I hope I fulfill the commitment which I have taken up.
Lastly, sir, could you give a message to all those hardcore professionals, whether they are alumnus or whether they are not? Something that you, just a message kind of things, from the point of view of your dear students. Something that you want to tell them.
Not really a message, but I would give a warm invitation to all to come to BKPS, because this is a place, this is a college where actually architecture education in the city started, and it has this legacy. And we do get students from all over the city, Maharashtra, and country coming to our library for referring books. Apart from referring books, do come, drop in anytime you are passing Tilak Road or Sadashiv Pet. Meet us, see this work of our students. We always welcome you. And I think with lot of affection to the society, because this college is the oldest one, and so I feel that all of us should connect to come to college. You are all welcome.
So I think that is a beautiful and rather lovely message from the principal, isn't it? And it somehow also goes along with our core philosophy at Wide Angle Forum, where our tagline is connecting creative minds. And I believe always that if you are born a human being, you are creative. So essentially, we are connecting one human being to the other, and in the better interest of our great country. On this note, friends, I would like to say that we have concluded this wonderful interaction between myself, Priya Gokhale, and Dr. Abhijit Natu, who is the principal of the BKPS College of Architecture, Pune. And I will have to say that if you have liked this interview, well, we will be meeting wonderful people. If you like this, do like and subscribe the channel, that I'm supposed to say. And on this note, thank you very much for listening, for watching, and stay happy, stay tuned, and here's to a wonderful year to all of you. Thank you.